Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Robby Row Show. I am your host, Robbie Rowland. Thank you for listening to today's episode.
My goal for a kid that is coming up now is to instill a feeling. More than, I'm trying to create pros. That's not really what my goal is. My goal is to give a feeling to a kid, the same feeling that I felt of like something that gave me some confidence and something that I could really look in the mirror and say, man, I really like this about myself.
May I have your attention, please?
Give me a heater.
Now listening to Clear the Mechanism.
The Robby Row Show.
The Robby Row Show.
Yo, what's going on, guys, girls, dogs, cats, I don't know, whoever else is listening. How's everybody doing today? It's your boy, Robbie Rowland. Another episode of The Robby Row Show, episode 53. I got an absolute, just sensational, passionate guest today for you guys. Jason Ferber. You guys probably know him as Coach Ferber, Coach Ferbs. Funny story. So I went to New York for a second opinion on my lat injury. And hit him up and was like, yo, like we tried to collaborate, I want to say like a couple weeks before I knew I was going there. Just couldn't really figure anything out, anything that made sense. So right when I got the call that I was going to go to New York, I was like, yo, Ferbs, like I'll be there, like where are you at? And he told me he was in Queens. Anyways, like long story short, man, like I had to take the subway to go see him at his place at Premier Baseball. And I got lost. It was my first time on a subway, and I was just grinding. It took me like 3.5, 4 hours to get there, and it should only take me like 35, 40 minutes. But it was funny. Well, I think we actually even talk about it in the episode, but definitely worth it. Definitely worth getting to spend some time with Coach Ferbs. Obviously, you guys will hear just his passion for the game of baseball and his passion for not just improving his athletes as baseball players, but really just improving them as human beings too. And I mean, this guy is the real deal. I mean, he's so cool, so genuine. Thank you, Coach Ferbs, if you're listening, man, for your time again. We literally I brought the portable podcast recorder and we set up, in like the lunch room, I guess, of his complex. And I mean, you'll hear like batted balls in the background. You'll hear some people talking. There's a couple points in the episode where someone like is saying goodbye to him and he's shaking his hand. I mean, that's just real. But no, you guys are definitely in for a good podcast episode today. At this time, I wanna talk to you guys a little bit about my one-time mechanical video analysis. I've been getting a lot of questions on my Instagram. People are always like, hey, if I send you a video, can you see what I do wrong or what I do right or what, blah, blah, blah. And no one knows. I guess I don't do a good job of marketing it, but I have a website, www.therobbyrowshow.com. And in that website, I offer a one-time video analysis. So what that entails is you go to the website. Easiest way to get there is go to my Instagram, click the link in the bio. It'll take you to a page that you'll see mechanical video analysis. And what it is you send me 2 videos, one from the center field angle and one from the open side. And you send those to me. I take them, I put them in an app that where I can slow it down, I can draw on the screen, I can see areas of your delivery that need to be done more efficiently. I can see some movement patterns that aren't quite optimal. And so what I do after I send those 2 videos back to you is I take a video of myself and I kind of just elaborate in further detail what I think and what I see that can better. Obviously the velocity is a huge component. Command's always a big component. And a lot of the times when it comes to the delivery and when it comes to mechanics, a lot of individuals don't really know what optimal movement is. And I think through my experiences and through going through what I've gone through in my mechanical journey, I kind of just can relate to a lot of different individuals. So like I said, go to the Instagram bio, Instagram Robby Row 12, that's Robbie with a Y. Hit that link in the bio, it'll take you to a page. You'll see on the page, scroll down, I think it's like the 5th one, it'll say mechanical video analysis. You hit that, it'll take you to the website, purchase it. I think it runs like $39.99. Enter the code Robby Row Show for 20% off. and then let's get going on that. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, listening to this podcast, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Jason Ferber.
Oh man! All right, man. We're live. So do I call you Jason Ferber? Do I call you Coach Ferbs? What do you go by?
Nah, call me Ferbs, Jason Ferber.
I like Ferbs.
Yeah, Ferbs
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for coming down. And, it's a real pleasure seeing you.
Should we give the audience what happened today?
The background? Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's a big part of what it is.
I feel like we have to, right?
Yeah.
For me to get here, this is what happened, right? So I'll give my point of view, and then I want you to give your New York, like, what I do wrong, right?
All right.
So I was in Manhattan, which on a map was like 7 miles from here,
right?
And everyone's like, "Yo, take the subway," right? That's the hot thing to do, right? I feel like gets you in there a little
New York
bit.
City subways.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense.
Because the Uber is going to be like $40.
Right.
So like, okay, I'll take the subway. Never had in my life, ever.
First
time. So I do everything right, in my opinion, as far as getting on the specific trains. A train, what is there, like a 4, 6, F, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I'm doing it right, and I'm texting you throughout the way, dude. I'm like, yo, this is good. We're doing it right. And the next thing you know, I'm looking at the map, and I'm in the Bronx, and I need to be in Queens.
It's happened to everyone.
Because I went on the wrong direction.
Right.
I went. Explain the uptown, downtown.
Well, you went north instead of south. A lot of times when guys we're trying to maneuver around the city, you have to really pay attention to details. You know what I mean? Similar to what we do here too. Is paying attention to details. When I was on the phone with you, I felt bad because I was like, man, did I put this guy on a wild goose chase? But I was trying to explain is that, and most of the time, what happens is, like, the reason why I've gotten lost in the past is that I won't ask for help.
Right.
I won't do it because I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, what is this person going to think about me? They're going to think I don't know what I'm doing, or I have no idea where I'm going, right? It's pride. It's pride.
It's stubborn pride.
Yeah. Do I want to? But when you ask for help, I told you, I said New Yorkers are, in general, they're nice people. They just seem like jerks because they're rushing to get it right. Everybody's behind. Yeah, they're on their own schedule. But if you ask them, and you ask them in a normal fashion, you know, hey, by the way, is this the right way going towards here? Usually they'll help you out.
Yeah, for me, I don't really care what people think of me. Yeah, obviously with the beard. So it's like, I'm just like, whatever. But no, there was a couple people that just like didn't really know what I was trying to say. Because maybe I didn't word it right. I don't know.
Maybe they were from Haiti or Jamaica or China too. There's a lot of accents. First off, Robbie, first rule is talk to somebody who speaks English. Yeah, give directions from a guy who understands your language.
I told you before, dude. There were some people on that train that were like
shady.
They were talking English, but it wasn't English. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. You got those too. You got a wide variety.
Yeah. Well, Ferbs, I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you taking the time to hop on here. So tell me, dude, because I don't really know your backstory all too well.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. I mean, I can assume all I want. I can hear from other people, but like, where did it all start? Where'd the love for the game and the passion for coaching kind of start for you?
Well, my story is I grew up in Coney Island. Right? Okay. So Coney Island, back when I grew up, was there's a lot more police presence, let's just say, now than there was in the early 80s. I was born in 77. I'm 41 years old. So back then, it was, I want to say, low-key dangerous, right?
High-key dangerous.
High-key dangerous. Let's go high-key dangerous. There's a reason why a lot of movies like Warriors and all these other movies that are out there from that. Yeah. Because there was a period of time in the early 80s when crack came into that neighborhood and drugs, and it was really the police was corrupt. There was just not a lot of aspirations and hopes for a kid that was growing up at that time. And if your family doesn't have a lot of money, which mine didn't, right? My family was on welfare. I know that. I mean, I went to PS 188, which is a school right on Neptune Avenue in Coney Island, and what you're dealing with is basically trying to find something. Like what I was doing running around at that age was trying to find something that actually really made me feel good about myself. Because if you don't have any money, right, you don't have any really hopes or dreams or aspirations, you see everybody around you, there's either guys that are dealing drugs, or there's guys that are playing sports, athletic guys, right? Now the guys that weren't playing sports or weren't playing basketball, football, or selling drugs, they start doing other things like freestyle rapping, right? Like rap with Jay-Z guys, you know, breakdancing.
Yeah.
You know,
that was hot back then?
That was super hot, man.
Oh,
I tried to break
cardboard boxes
I was popping and locking back then. I was doing my best to do it.
Before it was even popping and locking.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's crazy. It's crazy because one of the things that I really learned from growing up in that environment is that a lot of times people that are when you learn what you have a knack for, and you're allowed to go through that process of finding out what you actually have a knack for, it's so helpful later on in life. Because if you take that away from a kid, let's just say an 8-year-old kid, you just say, you're a baseball player. Yeah. Why? Because I like to play baseball. I'm your dad. So you're taking away, even though you think you're getting ahead of everybody else by doing this specialized stuff, if you're not meant to play baseball, you're actually falling behind. So imagine in the Jay-Z reference we were talking about, this guy's just, I can't play basketball, I can't play football. So what do? I know I have this knack for creating rhymes in my head, these words, and then I can spit them out, and I can come up to you on the street and just freestyle and talk about your mom or whatever. Right? Now, he's not getting paid to do that. Right. It's just a knack. Now, I'd like to do it, but we would all see guys freestyle rap, and I go, man, I want to do that. Yeah. I would go back to my house and practice in the mirror, and I would sound like trash. Yeah, it doesn't sound right. But the point is, it doesn't matter if I ask Jay-Z to show me how to do that. Similar to I want somebody to show me how to throw hard. I want somebody to show me how to hit a ball really hard. Even if I ask Jay-Z to show me how he does that, he might say, come on in the studio. I'm going to show you what I do. Here's how I lay the track. This is how I do the rhymes. This is how I spit it. It doesn't matter. I'll pay you $5,000 an hour. I can't do what you do. Why? Because he's always been the best. He's always had a knack for it. He was just competing and having fun the same way guys playing stickball were competing and having fun. It's just now he's getting paid $1 billion for it, right? But if you take if you take that whole learning process away from the kid, it's fine. Now I got a baseball player, but he was meant to be a monster piano player.
Yeah. What about the kids that are like that wanna? Because I think in it's 2019 already. In 2019, there's a lot of importance behind like popularity and what other people are thinking of you and the perception of that too. But what about the kids that maybe aren't a baseball, football, basketball, soccer player, but are putting themselves in that environment? Are they still getting behind?
You mean the guys that are? I think
they want to be it, but they're not. They don't have that knack.
I think that we have to get back to the why are they doing it. If it's just for fun, to kill time, I wouldn't judge them for it, because if it's to stay out of trouble and the option is I'm going to go sell drugs on the corner with these guys or get in fights, then even if I'm never going to be a pro hitter, it might be beneficial for me in my life to have a hobby or do something.
Which is reality where you grew up.
Right, that's a reality. Now, if I'm the point where I kind of get confused is when you're telling someone, when a specialized trainer or somebody is telling someone, you can do anything you want to do. Yeah. Maybe you can, but it still starts with a knack of doing it. You know what I mean?
I think you have to have that mindset, though, right? You have to have that growth mindset to be like, okay, I can do this. What is taking me away from not being able to do any of this?
Right.
Because then if you get in trouble if you think about like the negative of that, right? So where you don't have that mindset and you're starting to try to do things knowing that you can't do them. So then maybe your passion withers away very quickly, I would say.
I mean, if you lose that, I guess when we're talking about purpose and reason of why you would do, like, why do I want to be a baseball player? For me, my perception of, like, because of where I grew up, my perception of what the game means to me is different than a guy that is from a suburban area that has a path that his family, like, or he's from the South and he has this structured environment where it's just, that's what you do. You go, you train to be a pro. I wasn't thinking about I was thinking about, man, this thing's giving me a great feeling. I have a knack of squaring up these balls. And it makes me feel good about myself. Right. I was content with that. I was like, man, I don't have to, because I can't spray. I'm not a good artist. I can't spray paint graffiti like Alex Katz over at King Custom. You know what I mean? I'm not an artist.
Plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. My boy Alex Katz.
Hey, we've seen you write "Stay Crispy" on your stories though. That's some good art, man. Come on now.
It only takes me 30 different times to get it right.
Yeah, you know it took us 3 minutes, man.
Yeah, but I would say it's interesting. It's an interesting concept, right? Because
well, it's interesting because like my particular path was the opposite, right? Like my pops played like 10 years, and when I was born, I was kind of like born right into that circumstance where that was all I knew. But then you talk about like me growing up and just and seeing just baseball, that lifestyle, living out of a suitcase, going to different cities, and me falling in love with that. And then that gave me a passion for it, wanting more of it. So as I got older, it was like, okay, what can I do to make sure that is my lifestyle?
That's honestly one of the things that I love about what we do the most about the game is that you got two guys from completely opposite backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
But there's the common. You can look at the differences that me and you have. The way we look, how long your beard is, how I have no hair yet. Right? You got all these different things around, but there's a common thread there is the game. The common thread to everybody is always the game. But like it's crazy because my perception of now what I want to do is not, because my goal was not to be a Hall of Famer. It was not like that. My father wasn't a baseball player. My brother played ball, and all the guys in my neighborhood played. We played stickball together, and my aspirations was just to be the best in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I couldn't.
Cred, man.
Yeah, I couldn't see when you have no money. That's the only real currency you have.
Yeah.
Is if you get picked up in a game first or last. That can give you some
it's like,
confidence.
what do you take pride in?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's fascinating.
It is, and so now when I'm giving the game back away to kids.
Yeah.
I don't talk to it from a. I went to a JUCO in California, transferred to San Jose State for a year, and then I started playing independent ball for a couple of years. But I never had that. I knew I had no structure. I had no real guidance of what I was doing. So my goal for a kid that is coming up now is to instill a feeling more than I'm trying to create pros. That's not really what my goal is. My goal is to give a feeling to a kid, the same feeling that I felt of like something that gave me some confidence and something that I could really look in the mirror and say, man, I really like this about myself. Give that away. And then when I get to the point where my career veered off, I think all of us, if you're a coach, the goal is to take the next guy and get him a little bit past that and say, well, I made the mistake. I went left here. Maybe you go right. And then get him to the next guy. And the guy in the next level, the college guy or the pro guy, can kind of take over.
Well, the game's the same way, I think, even if you're a player or you're a coach, because it's a constant learning curve.
Yes.
Even as a coach, you just said it, like you're still learning things like, okay, how do I respond to this individual? Oh, I learned this about this particular case. Let me apply it to this one.
Yeah.
And it's just a constant evolution of yourself as a coach. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's interesting. So how do we instill that, though? Like, how do you go about instilling a drive, a motivation, a sense of purpose into like one of your athletes?
Man, that is a phenomenal question. I mean,
because it varies for everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to figure out. It's funny you say that because I've been trying to figure out what it is that makes kids compete or gives them purpose. I'm trying to figure out because I've seen kids that are from the projects that have a lot of purpose and they have that drive, and I've also seen kids from the projects that are lazy and really don't want to strive for greatness. And I've seen kids that come from really, wealthy backgrounds that because they've been treated really nicely and given everything, they really don't know how to compete for something. And then I saw other guys that come from wealthy backgrounds that they have something wired in their DNA that says that I need to be better than this next guy. So I used to think it had to do with money. When I first started, I thought, well, is it a background thing, environmental thing? Or is it genetics where, I don't know if you just put a kid in a certain environment, it's not like I can just take a kid and I want to make him compete and just go, oh, let's just send him to DR.
Yeah.
And just hang out there for 6 months to learn how to compete down there. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that might work for everybody either. Yeah. I think that, again, it's a combination of like something that clicks at a young age where you say, if you're allowed the ability to ice skate, to play dominoes, to rap, to dance, to play football, hockey, all this different stuff. All right, boys. If you're allowed that, that's cool. That's a nice little excerpt. A couple of guys.
We're just saying goodbye to
a couple of guys.
That's a good segue. Where are we? What is the?
We're
this place called?
Premier Baseball in Queens, New York Premier Baseball in Queens.
It's funny too because like my Uber driver drove up and it was like, what am I looking at? Like, where's the place?
Yeah.
And then you go through this door and it's like, boom.
It's great. This is New York, man. I'm telling you, one of the challenges I have here is that, and why New York City baseball I feel has been watered down in recent years is because it's so difficult. It's not people being lazy or not liking the game. It's that you have all these like obstacles just to get to a point where you can hit or throw.
Right.
You can't do it in the street.
Oh yeah, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
Which is I didn't never even think about it because I'm a cowboy. Like we don't.
If you want to go out on long toss, you just go.
Bro, you just go.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to check a weather report. You don't have to check like the crime rate if there was a shooting there.
You don't have to put on a bulletproof vest to go long toss.
No. But it's funny, dude. Like going back to that topic of instilling something in other individuals is like I've been really on this subject for a good bit of time. I've been sending some tweets out about like what is that like
right.
Because I almost believe like you have a culmination of everything. You have product and environment, you have like the DNA, you have that just ability to think for yourself and just reasonable cause, and it all varies like per individual. I think my experience with it was as soon as I was thrown into competition, I fell in love with it. And that whole thing behind like, okay, as soon as I got kicked down to the curb, like what was my response? I got back up and I fought for the next W. Whereas other people will get kicked down and be like, I'm out.
Well, it's the same concept.
It's that knack,
yeah,
right?
It's the knack, but it's the same concept we're talking about is that in the pickup game, right, there's, for some reason, if Robby Row was 11 years old and
I had hair back then.
Yeah, and we would get, and we were in a straight up pickup game, right? I don't care if it's football or basketball or baseball, whatever it is, right? If we were in a pickup game, there's no parental authority, supervision, nothing. There's no umpires. It's just kids picking up kids in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
And somebody picks you last. There's some kids. Robby Row might go, I don't like that feeling at all. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go home and I'm going to grind. And next time I might get picked second to last, and see what that feels like. Yeah. There's another guy that goes, I got picked last. Like, I'm cool. It's not for me. I'm going to do something else. I don't like this feeling. I can't stand this feeling of I'm so embarrared. You know what I mean?
Because they're your friends too, and you want to fit in.
Of course, there's a lot of stuff like that goes in there. It's a big problem these days with what the goals are of baseball players or young baseball players. The goal seems to be to post a college commitment on Instagram. It's so flawed.
Perception.
I mean, if you think about that. From every different aspect, my goal of why I play is just so I can tell everybody that I committed somewhere. First of all, I think the goal should be the pro level. I don't think that if I'm in a sport or I'm doing something I really want to excel at it, why I would bring myself to an amateur level.
Cutting yourself short.
You are. The reason why that's the goal is because a lot of kids can't connect and picture themselves as Mike Trout. They can if they see the high school kid that's right their age and he goes to school with them. He goes, wait, that guy's going to LSU or Florida or something.
Yeah.
Well, I can do that too. It's more realistic, but I think that's a big problem.
I think it's interesting too because I think in our society, obviously, I talk a lot about like instant gratification, but I also talk about like external acceptance, where our society is like, what do other people think of you? Like, what is that person thinking of me right now? Because I put a lot of weight into that person's opinion, when in reality, like. You know, I know we grew up in different time frames, but it was kind of the same thing when I was growing up. I was always taught that who cares? Like you have whatever's in between your ears, whatever you're thinking of yourself, like that's what plays.
That's also exactly the same thing about are you wired like that environmentally or is that genetic? That feeling I was talking about. I had a couple of when you deal with the young guys. Especially, I like the fact that I deal with pro guys and young guys because you see such a difference of that emotional response when I break the young guys and they're taking around a BP and they roll over 3 times. What they do is panic, right? Sure. They start to turn inside towards themselves and look. External. Yep. They start looking away and seeing who else is here. Who's watching me? I look really bad. What do people think of me? All these guys are laughing at me, right? So what happens? Does it help them? No. Their heart rate goes up. Breathing gets sporadic. They start panicking, and now I'm gripping the bat tighter, and it gets worse. It's a snowball thing. The pro is able to not care at all about rolling over 3 times, and he stops and takes a deep breath, and he stays within himself. He goes inside rather than out. And then he.
Well, we always talk about like in the baseball space is like and you could speak to this too. I don't have like too much coaching experience, but you see, say like high level D1 guys compared to like professionals. What are the difference in the swing mechanics and the body motion, the biomechanics? I mean, probably very minimal, right?
Yeah.
And then you talk about like the mental state, like where are they at in between the years, and it's outstanding.
Well, that's probably from AA to to the big leagues.
Exactly.
Too. It's the same
Well,
thing.
you continuously see it.
Yeah, you see the guys. When I go to spring training, right, in Florida, and I go hang out with my boys from the Blue Jays, Palacios and all these guys from the Blue Jays, and Hunter Mentz, who was in here, that guy, do that. He's on it. When you look at when you're down there is every single shortstop is some Dominican dude that makes every single play, and is literally 100 out of 100 plays. Everybody's got a hose, and there's this small group of guys that hit, and they just on a fast track, and they they're in and out, and they get moved up quick. But it's crazy when I always think, like, what's the difference between a AAA hitter and a big league? They both similar physical, based on the position. Most of the time, when you get to the point when the guys the same height, weight, grip strength, speed, I mean, the guys start looking the same. What is the separator?
Totally.
I think it's brain to body connection. I think what separates Trout or these guys from a from a double or triple A guy is they might have the same physical tools, but somebody can make the connection from my brain saying go to my body going. That's got
to be an internal thing, though, right? That's somewhere along your journey that you just decided to do that.
Yeah.
There's a response.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is.
Because we can't teach that.
You can't teach it. It's the same thing. Sometimes we try to overtrain athletics to the point where guys get overtrained and underdeveloped is what I call it. They're overtrained and underdeveloped. And why is this? You could be overfed and undernourished.
Right.
Same thing. You could be overfed and undernourished, right? So what you see is you see guys spending an abnormal amount of time in a weight room, right? Or training to I want to get my bat speed up by doing core work and free lift and getting my strength up. That's one way I could say bat speed. But what if I said, if I train the connection between my brain to my body when it says go to go, that's another way to get bat speed. The speed of the connection between, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about Tom Brady, right? Well, I say this all the time with Tom Brady is that Jameis Winston and all these other guys can throw harder, throw further, run faster, jump higher. They're all better athletes. The reason why Tom Brady's the best is because, and he's 40-something years old, is because he can take that 1.3 second drop step. He can process all these crazy-looking dudes like they're outside running at him, and he can fire a seed, and so his brain is processing information at a faster rate, regardless if he's the athlete, right? So what I would say is there definitely is a connection between how you react, how your brain processes information, and let your body do it, where we have to somehow find a way to train that. There's ways of doing it, reaction stuff and things like that, but
which is getting more popular. I would
is.
say, like in today's game, like organizations are starting to take notice of that. We got a couple organizations I've been in. We've had like a big board and like there'll be a flashing light.
Yeah,
we gotta like.
That's it. That is.
Which is a good step. And I mean, it's the right direction.
I think it is. I think vision's a big thing too.
How much of it though is like, is it training or is it like, yo, you're born, like your experiences that you went through?
Are you Jay-Z? Are you Jay-Z? Did Jay-Z have to train to be the best wordplay artist in the world?
Well, that's the thing, right? Because Jay-Z's, he had to have put in the work, but I think he didn't have to put in as much work as a guy with the less talent.
Yes.
And it goes back to the Will Smith conversation with talent. You have naturally, you have X amount of talent. Skill is developed by the hours and hours that you put in.
Right.
So it's like, where is that talent level as far as like comparison to another Latin player, to an American player? But where's that skill level that they've honed in on after hours and hours of putting in the work?
Yeah, it's like everybody gets, like when they're born, I think you're born with a certain level of, I don't know if you want to call it talent. You get an empty cup, I would say. Everybody gets an empty cup. The whole goal is to fill up your cup with like strength or athleticism or whatever. That's the goal, is to max out on that. But if my cup of strength is a little shot glass and Robbie Rollins is one of those big Gatorade jugs,
then you have a capacity.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ceiling. There has to be a ceiling to it. Now, obviously, guys, you can talk about Jose Altuve, and guys like to focus on that and say, oh, this guy, if he can do it, and he's 5'5", then anybody can. No, not really. He's the only guy. You're going to focus on one guy that hits ball 475 feet consistently. Who else does that?
Yeah. Well, it's like the comparison with Aaron Judge, too. It's like an average human being is not going to go like, oh, Aaron Judge, like I'm going to be like him.
Right.
That's why when Steph Curry did what he does in the NBA, people go, oh, now we see a rise in NBA, or people playing basketball because they can relate to a Stephen Curry. They can relate to the Jose Altuves, or the Bregmans. We're seeing a advance in the little guy now hitting home runs. So I think now, and this is where it gets really interesting because I think it's a mental capacity. If an individual relates to a certain person that they're seeing on TV and goes, what is separating me from him? They all of a sudden get a mental idea, or it clicks in their head that they go, oh, I can. And then there's that can rather than the can't. And then that can breed into a lot more stuff moving forward.
I like when you talk about Steph Curry, it reminds me to say is that imagine even at these guys that get to that level where Steph Curry is the best at what he does, shooting, right? Yeah. LeBron, let's just say, is the best at dunking, right? I mean, LeBron can do it all, but I would say there's guys that are their game is, even at the highest level, there's still knacks and certain tendencies of certain guys. Yeah. Steph Curry can dunk a basketball.
You're not going to see Steph Curry on the block.
No, but I'm saying he can dunk.
Right.
But when he's practicing, he's not like, I would consider a dunk a monster slam dunk kind of the same as a home run in baseball. It's like this feat of athleticism, right? It's like a feat of athleticism that only certain guys can do and make it look good and things like that. And Steph Curry, even though he can do it, he doesn't take his time an abnormal, inanimate amount of time.
Because he knows that he's not going to be a better basketball player.
No, that's not. He's focusing on his craft and doing that. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that baseball is tricky sometimes because of the Jose Altuves and things that can do it. And if you're trying to find purpose for a kid and say, where is my skill set add the most value in a team setting, not copying or duplicating somebody else's movement. Because if it was that easy, I would just say to my boy Alex Katz.
He's our media guy.
He's our media guy right now.
I love this.
Alex Katz, hey, that's my boy Kitty Elgato. You need to follow him. I'm going to shamelessly plug him in there, Robbie.
Let's
that's
go,
my boy
dude.
there, KD Custom Kicks.
He's coming on the show.
Yeah, well, all I'm doing is I'm just plugging him right now because I'm hoping that he gives me a custom pair of KD kicks. KD Custom Kicks. And if he does that, I'm going to keep on mentioning his name, even though he's got nothing to do with this conversation. People go, who's Alex Katz?
You think he can put my logo on some kicks?
I think Alex Katz can do anything. The guy is like he's legendary. Yeah. So I was saying so tell me how like LeBron, if it was that easy to just copy the pattern and do it, like people don't do that in basketball. Yeah. People don't say, hey, dunk this back. Just take these 3 steps like LeBron did and have your body move this way. If you can't dunk, you can't dunk. Yeah. There's no because you don't have the functional strength or the height or the athleticism to do it. We have to work on some of that stuff outside before we start training it inside. I think like in a more of a gym setting, right, or mobility stuff.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Right. You have a capacity of what your body is going to allow you to do. You have skeletal movements. That's a whole other conversation far as like diving into that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's for the, because I know. So this is what happens when I bring someone onto the show and we talk about these amazing things, and then my audience listens to them and they'll relay questions to me, and now they're going, okay, what do I need to do, Coach Ferbs? Do I need to look in the mirror and readjust, or do I need to understand where my foundation lies? What exactly is? Do I need to train more? Like, where do I go?
I think it starts with. I always have to bring it back to where am I at what level can I test myself? Like, am I adding value? And here's the way I would let me simplify it. If I'm a young guy, right? Because I'll stick to what I know. I'm not going to talk about pro stuff because I work with pro guys, but I don't coach at the pro level. I coach younger guys on the field. And what I would say is, here's an easy way to see if you're at the level of where you want to be. Whatever age I am, if I'm 14 years old, I should be able to, if I'm an elite ball player, right, and I'm on the right track, I should dominate my own age group, right? I should add value at a year up, right? I should actually add value at a year up, and 2 years up, I should still be able, let's just say compete. Yeah. Still competing at a year older than me, guys that are a year older than me. Yeah. And at 2 years older than me, I can still add value to something. My skill set, I can still find a way to add value to a game type of situation.
Right.
I think if I keep it like that, if I'm not adding value at my own age group, I got a lot of work to do.
Well, a lot of it is too. It's like keeping it simple. I think in today's game, we're seeing so many like external tools to utilize, and I think obviously as human beings, we're drawn to those things. So
Sure.
you talk about training earlier. Like that's the hot topic in today's game, right? Like we need to train more. We need
Right.
to train our bodies. We need to be optimal movers. We need to throw optimal weight around and all this stuff. And I think we're losing sight on like the foundation, the knack. What do you do really well?
Well, if you got,
I got like 10.
all right, cool. If you have, I mean, think about it. You could have a monster athlete that has all the physical tools. If he's insecure, he's worthless if you're in competition.
Yeah. The guy that's looking around after he rolls 3 or over.
Yeah, he's got fear-based. He could have fear-based movements in the game in competition.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about. I watched this thing on Teddy Atlas, who was Mike Tyson's trainer back in the day.
Okay.
And what you're talking about is basically, you can train however you want. You see guys, and boxing is the number one place where you can see it. If we're talking about competitive nature,
Yeah.
I feel like if you want to talk about sports and say what is the ultimate form of competing, it's taking another man that's your height and weight and seeing if you can beat him up.
That's
I mean, right?
primal instinct.
Right, that's what it is.
Stuff
And
right there.
What you're doing there, and Teddy Atlas was really interesting the way he said it, is you're fighting the urge to protect yourself and run, because if we're cavemen, right? If Alex Katz is a caveman, right?
Who says he's not?
Yeah, he's a caveman, and he's back in the day. He's running around trying to get food for him to keep his village alive.
Yeah.
If he comes upon some danger, he's not going to go after a big ass bull to try to take it down, because guess what? There's no medical stuff. If he breaks his knee, he's going to starve.
Yeah.
There's no fixing of an ACL or nothing like that. So the first instinct of humans is to stop, you know what I mean, and run and protect myself. That's the first instinct. When you bring it into a boxing world, you can train the guys a perfect technique inside. They do all these crazy combinations, and then when you put them in a ring, you're fighting the instinct to run.
Yeah.
He said Tyson didn't have the best technique. What he did was he had the least amount of fear. He never backed down ever and went the other way. So therefore, he was the most fearless. His movements were fearless. They showed no fear.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, I believe, in a batter's box too. I believe that once the velocity gets to a point where it can actually break bones and cause you physical damage, you're fighting human instinct. And most people that are on the street wouldn't choose to jump into an environment like that. I mean, we could go out here at the subway station and ask somebody like, yo, like, take this helmet on, and this guy's gonna throw 95 miles an hour at you. He might hit you, he might not. I don't know. We don't know. But there's other guys that you guys know that play with your hitters on your team that they would rather be doing nothing else than that.
Yeah, it's funny, man, because like that's that no fear mentality, and that no fear mentality kind of breeds into like we talked about earlier in the show about that I don't care too much mentality. And it's interesting when I researched Madison Bumgarner after his 2014 just unreal World Series, the environment that he was continuously put in. Like backs up against the wall, go out and give us freaking a heck of a game, or Game 7, go out and give us 5.
After
like
throwing 100.
All of these environments that he was put in, he literally was just say like, at the end of the day, what was the worst thing that happened? I was going to be on my ranch in a couple weeks baling hay and riding horses. And it was like, that's so interesting to me, because I think as athletes, we develop this mindset of like, wanting it so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like we can say the cliche words is like you got to want it more than the next guy.
Right.
But there's also that fine line if you want it too bad to where you start putting baseball into like everything.
You need balance.
And anytime you fail, you lose part of yourself and your identity. So
too much of anything.
That's what like I'm on that kick right now.
It is,
that's
man.
so interesting.
Some of these guys will. Like those catchphrases, a lot of times guys will talk about being obsessed with something. You have to be obsessed with this in order to be. I don't think Jay-Z was obsessed with rhyming, with freestyle rapping. I don't think he was obsessed with it. I think it was something that he had a knack for doing and he enjoyed it. Yeah. And he had a balance.
So he did it a lot.
He did it a lot. He probably hung out with girls. He probably shot some hoops or whatever. And he just but that was a skill that he created. I mean, if you look up obsessed in a dictionary, what the dictionary definition is it's being possessed by an evil spirit.
Possessed by the thing you're obsessed with.
Possessed by an evil spirit is called obsession. So it taken over, basically your body, meaning you can be obsessed with gambling, you can be obsessed with drugs, you can be obsessed with alcohol, you can be obsessed with women, you can be. That's never a good thing. I wouldn't want my
it's a negative connotation.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my. It sounds good, but I wouldn't want that. I don't think that's the right phrasing to it. I think balance is key, and I think obviously, outworking your competition is a great thing.
Yeah.
But being obsessed with anything is, I think, a little overboard, because you get into a point where if it doesn't work out, you have depression and other things that set in that kind of, you kind of have to keep that fine line of what you're doing in balance.
Well, that's like a little bit of my background. Is like baseball was something growing up. Like that was all I knew, and that was all I wanted to know, and that was all I wanted to do. And then when I turned pro and I started failing, it was like part of my life was being taken away, and I just wasn't as good of a human being, because I put so much stock and weight into the game.
Right.
And I think it's developing that fine line of like, look, I love the game, and I'm going to do everything in my power to be the best player that I can be. But at the end of the day, like, baseball doesn't define me. Like, I'm not obsessed with the game. It's just a game that I enjoy and I have a knack for.
Yeah, I think I ask a lot of young kids, like, what are your hobbies? What do you do? What do you do besides baseball?
Yeah.
Quite honestly, sometimes guys struggle with that.
Yeah.
Like me, if people said baseball doesn't exist, there is no baseball game.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do then? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Me, I like fishing. I would go deep sea fishing.
Never
and
would
go
have
chase
thought
around marlin. Go chase. Yeah, I would go chase marlin
like your
around.
Tic Tac.
Yeah, eat Tic Tac. I would eat Tic Tacs and go chase marlin. Yeah, and then I go get me a pair of KD custom kicks. Hashtag Alex Katz, KD El Kitty Elgato. Every time I say KD custom kicks, I get a new fire pair of cleats.
We'll have them sponsor this episode. So he's got to send us
exactly. I got you, my guy.
That's funny. All right, man. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
no, it's all good.
I appreciate you coming on, man. I appreciate you having me out to your neck of the woods.
Yo, man, but you know what? To be honest with you, I can see that what I like about you a lot, Robby, is you got just from the interaction that we've had, okay, which is, first of all, and I don't know if it's environmental.
I sense a compliment coming, so I'm excited.
It is. It's a compliment because it's a compliment because you're going through some stuff right now with injury stuff, right? You're going through some stuff right now that sidelines you of what let's say your biggest passion and what you enjoy doing is the most. You reached out when you came. We were talking a while before this, but we were trying to connect to do a podcast and hang out, but you came here and you're going to see doctors, making sure you're back on path with your rehab and all this. I'm already at that point. If it's me, I'm already a little bit down, right? I'm already not feeling sorry for myself. Maybe I am, man. Why? Why do I got to do this right now? I like the way what you're doing with posting your journey and your life. It's real stuff from what your rehab's like, and sharing that with people. And then when you come here and you ask me for directions, right? And I say, let's go to Google. Get the train line. You made a wrong decision or made a wrong turn. You got lost. A 3-4 hour trip that should have taken you 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You get here, smile. Still a smile on your face. Bro, there's still a smile on your face. There's a lot of people that would even say, I'm not doing this. I'm panicked out. I can't. And just turn around and just go take me back to where I'm going because I don't do it.
After that first crazy on the subway,
the first crazy person on the subway, man, I can't be around these people. You know what I mean?
Go put me back to California.
Yeah, man. So you can tell you got drive. You got passion. You're able to keep when things are not going your way. Yeah. I can see that from the one time I'm here is amazing what you can tell from somebody. Yeah. You didn't let it affect your overall how your day was going to go.
Yeah.
And I would say the last thing I would end on this whole thing with it because it made me think of something is that controlling what goes on in the middle of our day, I've been looking at this a lot, is tough to do.
Yeah.
What I read in a couple of different excerpts from different things, I'm trying to source it because I don't like saying stuff.
I know what you're talking about, the beginning and the end.
The beginning and the end. The good habits and routines, right? Because
you can control the beginning.
When you wake up,
set yourself up for as much success as you want.
Yeah.
The middle of the day is
if you wake up and you have good habits, and the habits are like, it's not bad to brush your teeth exactly the same way every time and go in the mirror and drink a cup of water when you get up and do everything on, because once you step out the door, that's when life becomes unpredictable. You can't control it so much.
Just like baseball.
Exactly.
But that's what to round it all out, man. That's what it comes back to. I think the game has taught me that it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how much work you put in, it doesn't matter how much you love the game. Anything's possible as far as like failing, success, whatever. All you can do is control the things that you can control. You can put in the work. You can treat people the right way. You can't control like you getting on a wrong subway.
No.
But what you can do is you can
control your response.
You control the response to that. Exactly.
Yo, I got a couple of questions for this guy too. You've been asking me questions. I got questions.
That's my show, man.
Yeah, I know, but I got to ask you questions back too, man.
I'm the
I want to
host.
know. Here's a couple of questions for Robby Row.
What do you got?
How long did it take to grow that crispy beard?
So I had a beard.
That's a good question.
Can we get the definition of crispy before we?
Crispy is it could be used in so many different ways. It's what I like.
It's that universal thing.
I'll tell you where it came from.
It's going to take off.
I hope it does. I mean.
When do I get my crispy shirt?
Yo, I got one for you. As soon as you let me know how to grow a beard like that, I'm gonna get you.
You just look in the mirror and you flex your cheeks and chin.
No, but you didn't have any any kind of tools, like guys use training tools to hit. Did you use any training tools for that beard?
It's mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah.
Do you put?
You have to think it into existence.
But are you using like certain animal proteins or anything that you're lathering in there?
I eat like 4 pounds of steak a day. Maybe that
So
helps.
that 4 pounds of steak. So this guy's got a lot of animal protein. Are you taking the fat and kind of drizzle and kind of rubbing it in there to make it?
Yeah.
To give it.
And then on my chest too. That's how I got.
Oh man, we went in a way different direction. All right,
Everyone just pictured something.
like it's a Velcro beard.
Everyone just pictured something.
Yeah, this guy just robbed an Amish guy of his beard. He just shaved it off and just put it.
I saw an Amish guy on the street the other day.
Really?
Like a real life Amish guy.
Are you sure it wasn't a Jewish guy? Where was it? In Queens?
Could have been. Are they different?
Yes, absolutely. A Hasidic Jewish guy is what you saw. Which is a big beard and it's
Top hat?
Yeah, this is a very religious Jewish guy.
Okay.
Amish guys are the guys in Pennsylvania that don't use electricity and milk cows and stuff.
It would take them 5 days to go.
Yeah. They build.
Took me 5 days to get it.
They build barns. But you're like you're like a combination of a California guy that's like a half Hasidic and a half Amish guy. You're thirds.
Yeah, I'm a rover, dude. Like I dip my feet in a little bit of like I'm a Cali guy. Anywhere else?
Well, we're wrapping this up right now.
Yeah, we're good. No, I appreciate the compliment.
Yo, anytime.
I'll soundbite that and just put that on the show. We don't have to.
Yo, thanks for having me though, dude. I appreciate you.
It's been fun, man.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Robbie,
it, dog.
Good luck on everything, dog.
Appreciate you.
All right, guys, that's another episode of the Robby Row Show. Do me a favor, if you liked the episode, or even if you didn't like it, go ahead and leave me a review on whatever platform you're listening to. Not only does it help me out with popularity on my show, but it also helps me out as a host of this podcast. Sometimes I don't know if I'm getting better or if I'm getting worse, and I need y'all's opinions. So go ahead and leave a review and let me know what you thought. So again, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, Robby Rowan, the Robby Row Show. Your boy's out. Later.